This video is not going to tell you to just get better artifacts or roll better substats. Today, I'm going to give you a no BS guide on how you can improve your artifacts right now with just what you have in your inventory. These tips are relevant no matter what AR you are and how unlucky or lucky you may be in your artifact farming. I'm rolling this. I want to put this in my wall of shame. I'm collecting terrible artifacts now. I've realized that I can't get any good artifacts, so I've been collecting them. We actually rolled HP percentage. Wait. We actually did it. This is a follow-up to my last video where I talk about tips to improve your damage. It got a lot of positive feedback, and I'm so glad you guys found that video helpful. If you haven't seen that one already, I'd heavily recommend checking that out first because that contains more general advice for the game. These tips are pulled from the most common things I've went over when I reviewed tons of viewer accounts during my live streams. Like I said, I've tried to make this as relevant to everyone as possible, no matter what their current situation is. Let's get into it. But first, a quick word from the sponsor of this video, Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends is a one-of-a-kind mobile RPG that is jam-packed with fun and challenging content. Okay guys, let's talk about one of the most challenging dungeon bosses out there, MiHoYo the Infamous, or as we all know him, the Fire Knight. MiHoYo was once a proud knight of Volcar, but he committed regicide at a peace summit with the Frost King and was bound by his own people to guard Volcar's treasures. So, how can you best claim Volcar's treasures as your own? Hits, hits, and more hits. The Fire Knight's shield makes him immune to debuffs and damage, so you'll need champions who can deliver multiple hits on each attack to remove it and start hurting him. Try using the likes of Arbiter, Apothecary, Ryzen Scarhide, Allure, and Coldheart, all of which deal tons of damage. This month's raid also just released a ton of amazing new clan features and improvements. There are brand new quests and even a brand new clan shop that gives you access to some incredibly powerful items. This update also brought new champions to collect from fragments in the Doom Tower. If you want to get a huge head start in Raid, all you have to do is hit the link in the description or scan my QR code and you'll get an epic hero churno, 200k silver, 1 XP boost, 1 energy refill, and 1 ancient shard so you can summon an awesome champion as soon as you get into game. And if you want that big haul, all of this treasure will be available only for the next 30 days for new players. Now, back to the video. So here are my 5 tips that you can use right now to drastically improve your artifacts. Number 5 is very underrated and my personal favorite. Number 1 is to prioritize good artifact domains. This is something that is so simple, but I feel is very underrated when players artifact farm. Usually when you farm artifacts, you have a set for a character you want to build. However, by having this sort of tunnel vision, especially when you just got the ability to farm 5 stars, you're actually elongating the time when you'll have good artifacts for your entire team. For example, if you have farmed for any Anemo character before, you'll know how devastating it is to farm the Valley of Remembrance only to get Maiden Beloved every single time. And after using up all your fragile resin, you've only got maybe 1 to 2 decent Viridescent pieces, so now you're stuck playing 4-piece Maiden Xiao. What you should do instead is to first focus on farming domains that have sets which are good for a vast amount of characters that you have. That way you build up a collection of great artifacts that are interchangeable between all the characters you have. An example of this is the Clearpool Mountain Cavern, with Bloodstained and Noblest being sets that are very good for a lot of characters. Now, I'm not saying you should never farm for Viridescent pieces. Of course, if you play Anemo, that is very important to have, but especially when you have a bunch of characters that you're trying to power up as soon as possible, or you just got to the level where you can farm good artifacts, it's better to maximize your resin and give your entire team a big boost rather than spending weeks trying to get that last piece to complete your set. This is also relevant for when new regions come out with new artifact domains. It's much better to target the ones that will give you something useful no matter what it is, and save specific set farming for when you're good with everything else. Number 2 is to take chances. Another thing I noticed a lot when I was reviewing accounts was the sheer amount of unenhanced artifacts that were just sitting in every player's inventory. I noticed their DPS equipping a very bad artifact that was enhanced to 20, and a quick scroll down and I would find an artifact that is already a lot better than their current one, even at level 1. If you want to beat the odds and get great artifacts with great substats, you gotta take more chances. Specifically, that means taking a 5-star artifact that only has 3 substats and rolling it to level 4 to see what the final substat is. The final substat just might turn a mediocre artifact into a great one. To give an example, I'd see a lot of flowers or feathers with 3 substats, 2 maybe bad ones, and 1 which includes either crit rate or crit damage. At first glance, that is a very underwhelming artifact. However, if you were to level it up to level 4 and get the other crit modifier, that artifact suddenly has the potential to be very decent. The point is, you never know unless you try. So I challenge you to look into your inventory, and chances are you have some of these artifacts just sitting around. When these become one of the best artifacts you have, I just hope you think of me. Number 3 is to maximize your stats. When you do roll a good piece, make sure to allocate it to a character that will make the best use of it. And when I say good, you should know that just because you high rolled crit rate and crit damage, that doesn't mean that it's a good artifact for every character. For example, that type of artifact for someone like Diona is worth as much as your quote-unquote worst artifact. If you understand how characters scale, you'll understand that each character needs different types of stats. So for Diona, stats like HP percentage and energy recharge are what you're rolling for in artifacts. So don't just trash artifacts that content creators or others may claim as garbage. Think about what your characters need, and you'll find that actually you probably aren't the unluckiest person in the world, and you do have a bunch of very good artifacts. If you're really tight on artifacts, make sure to prioritize the one with great crit rolls for your carries, and then make the best of whatever is left for your other characters. Guys, I love y'all, but I'm tired of seeing your Bennett having better artifacts than your Diluc. Number 4 is be a spoiled brat. This may sound funny, but it's an easy way of remembering to be critical of the artifacts you have. Don't just level any random artifact to 20 and equip it, even if it's a set piece. Look at the substats, see if you are constantly low rolling every time you hit an upgrade, and assess if you'll get more out of something else. For example, this is what I look for when I determine if an artifact is usable. For DPS artifacts, I don't settle for anything less than both crit rate and crit damage on both my flower and my feather. I like to see both on my sands, or at least a very high roll on one. Getting a very good goblet is extremely hard, so sometimes I settle for the right elemental bonus with decent subs. And I want to see both crit rate and crit damage on my circlet, with one of them being the main stat. If my DPS character has natural crit rate scaling, I want crit damage as my main stat, and vice versa for a character with natural crit damage scaling. Supports are more variable since each scales off something different. In general, I like to see a lot of energy recharge plus whatever stat their abilities scale off. The specific numbers are up to what you're looking for. I'd say if you're just getting started, don't be too mad at low rolling some upgrades. A good guide to follow is getting 1 to 2 crit rate crit damage ratio. Honestly, getting anything above 60 crit rate and 120 crit damage is very, very good. Number 5 is to use offsets as filler. Yes, artifact sets matter, and some more than others, but generally it's better to have offset pieces that give you the stats that you need. Instead of forcing 4-piece builds with garbage artifacts, why not use a temporary build with a 2-piece glad set as a filler that will provide you with more damage anyways? In the meantime, you can slowly replace that with better onset artifacts as you get them. For example, if you're trying to build 4-piece witch on Diluc, but your circlets are all garbage, it's better to use an offset circlet that will provide you with crit damage in the main stat. Trust me, that 60% more crit damage you get with the offset versus your garbage witch circlet will do more work for you. This also ties in with my previous point about farming domains that have good and flexible artifact sets. Not only are these sets great with a lot of characters, but they work very well as offset 2-piece fillers when you're short of pieces for a specific set. So how did I do, guys? Was this helpful? Let me know in the comments below, and feel free to share any tips you may have. I tried to be as comprehensive as possible, but I might have missed something that is important to know as well. I'd love to read through all of them. Also, sorry I haven't been posting too much. I've been pretty busy with life, but I've been working hard to catch up on all the content I have planned. If you enjoyed this, make sure to give it a big thumbs up to help with the algorithm. Also, subscribe if you haven't for more stuff like this. As always, thanks for watching, guys. Till next time.